Tom DeLonge of Blink-182 is the founder of To the Stars Academy. He's very invested and interested in the UFO topic. To the Stars Academy creates things like books, music, and film in order to try to educate the public on the UFO phenomena. In an interview he did a few years ago with George Knapp, Tom DeLonge goes into detail about how he got into the subject of UFOs in a more serious way and how he got connected to people on the inside, within the Pentagon, within the military, meeting with heads of aerospace companies, going all the way up to being cleared to speaking to generals.
What happened is I was up at NASA Ames. I got connected to a very specific person, and that person had me fly out and meet them. So this is where it gets really interesting. So I go out to a certain city, and I land at the airport, and I walk through security, and I meet this person. The person takes me to a restaurant that's right past security, and I go to the back of the restaurant. There's nobody in that area, and we sit at a booth for 2 hours. And while we're sitting there, he leans across the table, and this is the very first words that were said to me. It was the Cold War, and every single day we lived under the threat of nuclear war. Every single day we believed and really thought in the deepest part of our souls that nuclear war could happen at any given moment. And then he stops, and he goes, and somewhere in those years, and he looked me in the eye, he goes, we found a life form. And everything that we did and every decision that we made with that life form was because of the consciousness at that time. And I said, sir, when taking into account things that this life form has done, for example, turning our nuclear weapons on and readying them for launch, and then he interrupts me, puts a finger in my face and says, there are heroes in Russia, heroes. And under grave risk to himself and to his country, they did not fire back. And at that moment, I realized it already started. This new game I was in of working with people in like a dance of words, and information was already coming. There was no like small talk. Like we didn't just sit down and just say, hey, let's have a beer and let's like get to know each other.
So let's jump back to that. Let's jump back to that conversation. It was the Cold War. I mean, he's given you sort of the setting for how the cover-up, or what we'd call the cover-up, began.
Yeah, so this is very important for people to remember, and this is where I'm so excited to start chopping down all these pathetic conspiracies that I was involved in as well. It was the Cold War. He's saying that every day they really thought about the annihilation of all mankind with these, weapons that were hundreds or thousands of times bigger than what we dropped on Japan, and we had 20,000 each of those things. And all of a sudden something falls on their laps that's just extraordinary, But even further than that, if you really hear what I'm saying about the nuclear weapons, the UFOs were turning our weapons on, and just so Russia could pick up that we're firing our missiles and fire theirs first. It was a big chess game. So these guys went into complete secrecy to start coming up with a defense system against this phenomenon. They really want people to understand this, to know these things, but they don't want it to mess up their efforts. The more that I started to find out, I thought it was a pretty heroic tale, that these were really good men and women. Do you know that in that first conversation that I had with that general, during the 2 hours, I didn't even leave the airport. I was in this back booth, and then I'd go through security, get on a plane, and go right back home. It was crazy meeting. But during that, he must have brought up what was best for the quote, best for the republic, best for the free republic. He brought that up probably 8 different times. It's very, very, very important to these men what is best for the United States as a free country, free-thinking man, and the republic that we built. They're not these crazies running around trying to war. They're not warmongers, Very smart. This person has multiple PhDs, and I wish I could tell you who he is and what he there was nobody above him. There's nobody. Maybe a couple, but when you look at the divisions of how the Department of Defense works, and this specific division, it's just extraordinary that I have this contact. So I started using that as much as I could. So I said, taking it from that point, we talked for 2 hours, and I said, sir, I need an advisory committee. And we walked through what I need and why. And so he went out and got the advisors for me. What was really interesting about this is that I started getting advisors that were in different areas, people that deal with space, people that deal with intelligence, people that deal with biowarfare, stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think I should need, but I got them, and now I had the ability to start pulling these people together, and I had this one really interesting contact out in Washington, D.C. that was connected to the highest levels of government. That's how I can say it. And so I was able to pull off a coup in regards to what anybody in this field has ever been able to pull off, which was a conversation with not only my advisors, the most important group of the advisors, and somebody representing basically the highest levels of the land, and talking about how do we do something to help the youth understand that this is a reality, but that they're doing really good work, and they could use the empowerment. They could use the citizens of the United States and the world understanding why it's been kept secret, and that they're not doing it out of malicious reasons. They're doing it because it's an ongoing task. It's an ongoing issue.
And so the information that Tom tries to give is meant to have some kind of truth or accuracy to it as a form of soft disclosure. It's a little bit of a grey water because we don't know exactly if the information included is legitimate or not. With that in mind, his film Monsters of California became available to stream yesterday, and I watched it yesterday, and I took notes on the film, and I just thought I would share the information provided in the film as to kind of get a mindset of where Tom's head is at with the kind of the UFO phenomena in general. I'll start off by saying that the movie does not have good ratings. It's got absolutely awful reviews. It really kind of got hammered hard by reviews. The film is given a really hard time in the reviews. Primarily, a lot of it is partly because of the acting quality. However, I'm watching it purely for an information basis. I'll run through the general kind of theme of the information in the film, and kind of, I guess, spoiler alerts if you want to watch the film, maybe skip this video, but I'm just going to give you the information rather than the actual storyline or plot. The key information points that I took from it is that Tom seems to suggest that demons are real. This is a kind of theme in the opening of the film where some young boys try to summon demons and it works, and we see a portrayal of a demon-like, ghostly kind of paranormal creature. It's portrayed as black smoke with glowing red eyes, but the key kind of point here is the idea of demons actually existing. The main character in the film is a young boy whose father was in ATIP and involved in secret programs researching UFOs, and his father disappeared. He finds his father's notebook, these classified documents that he really shouldn't have kept at home, but he had them hidden. His son later found them. He reads from the documents. He mentions Starfish Prime nuke test. He references a 2003 New York blackout. He mentions that the tall group race from Atlantis being real and the Greys being real. He points that out verbally. He says they're all real. So this is something that I've not heard before. I've not heard of the tall group race from Atlantis. That's something I've never heard before personally. But he says that that's a thing. So I don't know if Tom is basically saying, yes, this is a legitimate real thing that the government have decided or have looked into and deem it to be real. In the document, it also mentions multiple retrieved alien craft and that there is an active program to pursue, track, and engage UFOs. Part of the film focuses around a device that his father used, which was a kind of a GPS device with multiple locations stored within the GPS, and this was like a highly top secret device. One of the locations was said to be in North Korea. Some of the locations were around mountain ranges in the US. It also delves into the theme that the paranormal and the UFO phenomena and also Bigfoot are linked to missing people reports, and that high numbers of missing people in mountainous areas. They also mention cave network systems that people go missing, and it's kind of supposedly linked to the UFOs or to even Bigfoot. Bigfoot is featured in the film. The kids find Bigfoot in the woods. It does mention, although it shows Bigfoot and kind of Tom is suggesting that Bigfoot is real, it's also says in the film that the phenomena, if you want to call it that, plays with your perception and changes your perception. So what you're seeing might not actually be what you're seeing, that they have basically magical powers that can change perceptions from people. They are also referring to the aliens as gods, with a little g, but gods. The burning bush is mentioned from the Bible, and suggested that that is actually a kind of alien paranormal trick, essentially, by the phenomena, if you will. Reading from my notes a little for you. In the 1940s, we discovered a new life form, not human, but not spirit, but very advanced. They didn't know if they were good or evil. They wouldn't talk directly to them, but now they are showing themselves more frequently. It goes on to say that they've always been here and would pop up every few 100 years and teach humans things like mathematics, science, through voices in the head or ideas coming from these beings psychically projected into different people, inspiring a new wave of technology or innovation in an attempt to advance human evolution. It also mentions that the average person can't handle the complexity of the truth, so only the elite have control, scared out of their wits because they don't understand the phenomena. In the movie, they are taken to a top secret military base associated with studying UFOs. They accidentally kind of walk past a room that one of the guys looks in, and they see a grey dead alien laying on a table inside a fridge. They also show kind of an outdoor area that has a giant metallic silver UFO craft parked there outside with scientists studying it. To quote from the film for you a little bit, they've been working on that since the 1960s. Roswell, in the 1940s, they worked on first. 20 years later, they started work on another. They started working on this thing called the Locust in the early 2000s. Now, I tried to look into the Locust and I can't find any reference to it online. I don't know whether that is a real thing or not, but when I tried to search that term using ChatGTP, I got a really weird message that I've never seen before or since, which kind of freaked me out a little bit. Also, in this kind of containment area with the UFO, is a German Nazi bell from World War II and also a flying Nazi disc. Interestingly, they end the movie on a more philosophical note, kind of discussing God and the nature of reality as being a field of energy that you can tune into, and that if you tune into the vibrations of hate and anger, then you attract that kind of energy back through the phenomena and you experience that level of consciousness built around fear, and that you invite or make a home for entities such as demons to thrive because you're giving them what they need or what they like, which is fear and anger and aggression and war. And that if you have an open heart and are loving and kind, that you create an environment that is a completely different level of consciousness, thus a different world. They also mention that we all come from the same place, a vast field of energy. It also makes a point in the film of saying that all of the world's religions have truth to them, and if you want to better understand the phenomena, you've got to look at all of the religions combined, not just Christianity, but all of them, and you'll get an idea, because all of the religions have been influenced and are talking about aspects of the phenomena to some degree, and so all of them have truth. And again, these higher intelligent beings we're calling aliens are noted in the film as being thought of as godlike. The climax of the movie is a direct experience with a UFO. The main character experiences being pulled up inside. However, we find that it's not really a nuts and bolts physical spacecraft. It's somehow trans-dimensional, metaphysical, spiritual, and he's receiving wisdom and information of the universe. He perceives direct knowledge that the universe exists as a field of energy in which infinite potentials exist. All possibilities exist within this field of energy, and it's only your mind which creates the reality. He makes it clear that we have a choice to calm the mind and choose love over darkness, and that choosing love is connecting to the right kind of frequency to create the world that we would like to see. Those are really the main takeaways from the film, information-wise, that I could pull out from watching it. Tom DeLonge, if you kind of scroll through his Instagram page, he's posted numerous pictures and paintings of Bigfoot. He's clearly very into Bigfoot, and it is mentioned in the film and shown in the film. Interestingly, he does kind of believe in the idea of the hierarchy of being, as in angels, demons, advanced supernatural beings, and, normal human beings, that there is a kind of hierarchy going on. And interestingly, people like Tim Taylor from NASA, who Chris Bledsoe talks about, and Diana Pasulka, Tim Taylor also has mentioned to people about the hierarchy of being. So that's something that is a kind of a theme here, that yes, angels and demons are real, and alien beings, some of them are more kind of godlike. NASA has Diana Pasulka goes into this idea that NASA has this kind of almost cult-like thing going on with strange ceremonies and things before launches, and the way that they name their space shuttles after particular Greek gods. And Tim Taylor talking about basically you have to please these beings, otherwise things go wrong. And so, yeah, it's got a kind of a ritualistic thing where they're paying homage to the gods for them to go up. Personally, I do read a lot of books around Indian mystics, Indian saints, Indian gurus, and I'm quite knowledgeable on aspects of Hinduism. And yeah, I've read accounts from what you would call enlightened saints. These people are normal human beings, but they have the idea that reincarnation, firstly, is real, is a thing, and that the soul goes through many births and deaths, and that eventually, and why you're born is because you don't know who you are. You fundamentally have a wrong identity. I don't want to get too heavily into the spiritual aspect. It's also said by enlightened people that you shouldn't share the highest truth with everyone, because essentially it can be harmful to their mind, and it causes harm on them, and if they're not ready, if their mind isn't subtle enough, it's actually harmful to them. And so I'm not going to get too deep into the philosophy of that. I think everyone comes to it in their own time. But to kind of give you a kind of an oversight, there comes a point where a soul, so to speak, has a more kind of direct awakening and starts to experience reality in a different way. Their visions change. They can see things that normal people, so to speak, can't see. In one of these cases, a saint describes demons. He saw a demon, literally a demon, walking down a train track at night, and the demon walked straight past him. It was a big demon. It had little bells around its ankles, and it jingled as it walked. Later in the book, he also describes another demon, and this demon had climbed up a tree and was violently shaking the branches to try and scare people. And it's clearly referenced in the book that this saint said that these demons can't actually cause physical harm to a person. They can't directly attack you or kill you, but all they can really do is scare you. And if you die from a demon, it's only dying out of fright and shock and being scared that you might die, but otherwise they can't actually really do anything to humans. But this particular demon was up in a tree, like really violently shaking it to try and scare people. One interesting side note was that this particular saint also described that if you repeat a holy name or a name of God, and in Hinduism this varies, there are many different names of God in Hinduism, that if you repeat one of those names, that the demons basically don't like it and will just leave you alone. So whatever holy name you want, whether you say Jesus or Krishna, I think it basically alludes to the same idea. I wanted to drop that in at the end just because it's in my wheelhouse of knowledge that kind of exists. But what I've learned from the Indian saints is that love is the most important thing in life. It's the most important thing for the soul. And if you can open the heart and just love everyone, love everything, love the entire universe, that basically you're on the right path and you don't have to worry about anything. You just have to love. Love is considered more powerful than electricity and the greatest medicine. And at the end of Tom DeLonge's movie, it basically alludes to the same thing. So I see a lot of parallels to what I know personally from other stories, and it made a lot of sense to me. Hope you enjoyed that breakdown, and I will see you again next time. Have a good day, and goodbye.
Obviously, the ET craft do exist. Something had to build them, so there must be aliens. And since there are and the craft are there must be some sort of factory and an entire civilization somewhere.